Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to 2025. I hope this is a great year for you and me and everybody else because 2024 was the longest and the shortest year of my entire life, and I would like to not have to relive all of the things that I went through last year. Anyways, I wanted to start off the video real quick just giving y'all a little update to kind of explain my plans going forward with my channel. I am working full-time, working pretty much 6 days a week, and then every 3 weeks I get 4 days off. So I'm pretty busy working 12s. Don't really have time to commit to markets and all of these other things anymore. So I know a lot of y'all are here for my crochet content, which I will have every once in a while, but I just cannot be putting out videos like that every single week because I'm not spending that much time doing crochet. So I originally started this channel as a book channel, change it to crochet, and now I'm gonna kind of change it back to bookish stuff, probably mainly lifestyle stuff. So in between book videos, I'm gonna have just regular life vlogs of all the stuff I'm doing every day, and then some crochet stuff here and there, but that's really the plan. So I'm sorry if you came for my crochet stuff and that's not really what you're getting anymore, but I hope that you'll hang out with me and just listen to my mediocre opinions on the books that I'm reading. You can probably already tell I've rebranded, changed my profile picture, my cover photo, and all of that, but I just wanted to give y'all a heads up real quick. So for this video, we're going to be going over my reads of 2024 and my goals for 2025 regarding books. So originally for the year 2024, my goal was to read 50 books in the year. Historically, if I give myself a low goal, I will far exceed it. If I give myself a high goal, I won't meet it. So my goal started out at 50 and I bumped it down to 30 in like November, December, because I knew there was no way I was going to meet that goal, and I just had to have the comfort of knowing that I met my goal or it was at least close to it. So we did end up reading 30 books in 2024. They were kind of sporadically placed. You can tell there was a few months where I read a whole bunch and then months where I didn't read at all. But I wanted to go over those books with y'all real quick, just give a short little synopsis and my honest opinions of everything. And mind you, I did not intend on filming this video, I guess, at the time, so I kind of had to remember what the books were about and look over the synopsis before filming, and there were several that I just don't remember very well, so I'm trying my best, but here is my wrap-up. So my first book of the year that I read was Iron Flame. I finished Fourth Wing, I'm pretty sure, on New Year's Eve, started Iron Flame, and then finished that on the 1st. Not entirely sure, but I of course gave this 5 stars. I am currently actually rereading this before the Onyx Storm release, and I'm not super far into it, but I may change that rating, but that's something that we can discuss in January's wrap up. This is the second book in the Fourth Wing, or the Empyrean series. Fourth Wing is the first one. It basically just follows our main girl, Violet, who is in school at a war college to join the Rider Squadron of people that ride on dragons. And I cannot explain to you the plot of this book unless you've read the first one, because it's all spoilers. So if you haven't read it yet, please go read it. It's supposed to be a 5-book series. Book 3 is about to come out in like a week, so yeah. The second book that I read was my book club pick for my personal book club that I have, and I really regret picking it now. It's called The Never King, and it is a Peter Pan and Wendy retelling. So in this story, the Darling family, Wendy's family, the women, when they turn 18, are abducted by Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and then come back traumatized if they come back at all. And so it follows our main character, Winnie, who is Wendy's granddaughter. And Winnie's mom is trying to protect her from Pan because when she came back, like, she was just entirely changed. She kind of went crazy, and so she moves the family around like every year to try to avoid Pan coming for Winnie. But that doesn't work because that's not how magic works. So Winnie gets abducted. She's gone for like 3 days. Really the only thing that happens while she's there is banging. The Lost Boys, Pan. It's really weird. And one thing that I really did not like about this book was that Winnie, in her own internal monologue, like, her personality is the fact that she sleeps with a bunch of dudes, and it's just like, it's not endearing. It's not like woman power, like, yeah, I did, and what about it? It's just, it's not, it wasn't my vibe. So she has that going. Then Pan wants to say that he's this bad guy and does all this and blah, blah, blah. And then like all he does at one point is like rip some dude's heart out. And I'm not saying that doesn't make you a bad guy. I'm just saying to me that wouldn't really qualify that title, but whatever. And if every woman in this family is abducted by the same people, and this is what's happening to Winnie, is she sleeping with the people that her grandma slept with, her mom slept with? It don't make no sense to me. Not my vibe. I gave it 2 stars. I did not continue with the series. Like, I feel like at the end of these really not great dark romances, I always want to know what comes next, but I just don't have the drive or the desire to continue the series. So I did not. The 3rd book I read this year was Praise by Sarah Kate, and I actually really enjoyed all of the books that I've read from this series. This one follows a girl named Charlie who is just trying to get her life sorted out after an unfortunate breakup, and when she goes to get like her security deposit back from her ex-boyfriend, his dad mistakes her as an assistant of sorts and ends up offering her a job. So then she works for her ex-boyfriend's dad and does other things for him. And I actually really liked it. This dad also is a co-owner of the Salacious Players Club, which you can probably assume what that is. And it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. It's kind of like a dom sub situation. Well, that is what it is. And besides the fact that Charlie has like rock bottom self-esteem issues, it was really good. I liked it. And I think if you're new to this channel, you're gonna kind of realize that my ratings and expectations of books may not be that of a scholar. I'm just easily entertained for the most part and try not to look for flaws in stories. So 5-star read. Then we move on to the next book in that series, and these are all interconnected, but I'm pretty sure they can be read as standalones. You'll just have to like understand who certain characters are in the book. And the next one is called Eyes on Me, and it follows Garrett, who's another co-owner of the Salacious Players Club, and he really likes cam websites. And one day he is looking for some entertainment and clicks on a video and realizes, hey, that's my stepsister that I loathe, but it's kind of hot, so I'm gonna keep watching it and I'm gonna talk to her. So he develops this obsession with watching his stepsister on her little cam website and, you know, doing his little thing. Then they go on a family vacation to like a lake house or a beach cabin or something like that. And they're both there and they're butting heads, and he's in one room watching her video and she's in another room making the video, and she doesn't realize that it's him until later on. Very good. I liked the premise of this. It was probably my favorite of the 3 that I read. I gave it 5 stars also. And the last book I read in January, which is the last that I read of the Salacious Players Club series, is called Give Me More. And this follows another co-owner of the Salacious Players Club, Hunter, and also Drake, who is like the construction manager that's overseeing renovations at the club. And Hunter and Drake are best friends. Hunter asks Drake if he would become involved with his wife while he watches. This kind of spins Drake into a spiral because he's like secretly in love with Isabel, the wife, but also kind of secretly in love with his friend Hunter. So it kind of opens this whole route for exploring a poly relationship. And I thought that overall the communication was pretty good amongst all the people. Like, of course, everyone had their reservations at the beginning because it's taboo and whatever, but generally, I think it went pretty well. I am not in a poly relationship, so I can't say that it's a good portrayal of it, but I liked it and I gave it 5 stars. The only book that I read in February was House of Earth and Blood, which is the first Crescent City book. And if you have not heard of these books, it follows Bryce, who works at an art museum in Crescent City, and there's been some murders taking place around her city, and she tries to get to the bottom of who's doing them and teams up with an assassin named Hunt, who is essentially a slave to the city because of some other stuff that happened a long time ago. and they kind of have to figure out what's going on. And this was a reread for me, and the first time I read through it, it was really difficult for me to get through because the rest of Sarah J Maas's books are all like strictly fantasy. This one was an urban fantasy, so there were cell phones, cameras, guns, you know, they were using drugs and alcohol, and it was just jarring to me, I guess. Like, I didn't expect it going into another one of her book series. So the first time I read it, I really did not like it. This time going through, I listened on audiobook, and I think I liked it a little more because I kind of expected it. I knew what was coming and just had a better outlook on it altogether. I wasn't just reading it because I knew I needed to. I was reading it because I wanted to reread it. So I gave it 4 stars, which I think was probably higher than my original review of like 3. All right, we have a visitor now for our video. In March, I read The Awakening, which is the first book in the Zodiac Academy series, and I listened to this on audiobook as well. And it follows 2 twins who did not realize that they were essentially heirs to the throne of this fae world that they had no connection to originally, and everyone in this world thought that they were dead. So when they show up at the Zodiac Academy, everyone is pissed because now they're like a threat to the people that were heir to the throne, and they're super magical, of course, and all that. I liked this. I have mixed emotions about finishing the entire series because there's 9 books and then there's a bunch of spin-off series, but I didn't hate it per se. Towards the end, I kind of got a little disconnected from the story, and that could have been just because I was listening on audiobook and was distracted, so that's not entirely the book's fault. But I gave it 4 stars just because, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I didn't hate it, but definitely check trigger warnings because it is considered like a bully romance, and my husband begs to differ on that. He feels very strongly about one specific scene that he's like, that is absolutely worse than bullying, so just make sure you're checking your trigger warnings. In April, I started the Plated Prisoner series, which starts with the book Guild by Raven Kennedy, and this follows our main character, Oren, who is King Midas's favored saddle, so essentially she's like his favorite sex slave, and she is gold touched by him, so everything is gold. Her eyes, her hair, her skin, everything is gold, and to protect her, Midas keeps her in a cage. It like spans throughout the castle, but like she's locked in there. War ends up coming to their kingdom, and she kind of realizes that the situation that she's in isn't necessarily like a healthy one, and starts to kind of change her outlook on everything. This is an entire series which I've read all up until the last one, which came out at the end of last year. So I'm going to kind of group those in because I can't really tell you what happens in the other books because they're spoilers. I gave Glent 5 stars. I really liked it. Don't really have any notes. Some of the other ones kind of get long and drawn out unnecessarily, but I gave them all ratings that I felt they deserved. I really just enjoyed the entire series, so. After Guild, I listened to Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena? I don't know. And this is about a 9-year-old girl who goes missing, and the day that she goes missing, her dad ends his affair really horribly. So I'm pretty sure that everybody thinks that he did something to her. This is one of those books that I didn't really remember a lot about, and then as I started remembering, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. A lot of the reviews on Goodreads talk about how the author has obviously never met a 9-year-old because of what takes place in the story. It just doesn't correlate with 9-year-old behavior, but it had enough twists and turns in it that I gave it a 4 star. So after that, I read Glent by Raven Kennedy, which is the second in the Plated Prisoner series. I gave that 5 stars as well. And then after that, I listened to Survive the Night by Riley Sager. And I really like Riley Sager's books, like his first original 4 that he wrote are some of my favorite thrillers. And I would honestly almost consider him one of my favorite thriller authors. But Survive the Night just did not do it for me. So it follows a girl named Charlie who decides to essentially hitchhike with this guy named Josh that she meets at her college. I guess they're going in the same direction, and they're both going on like vacation home or whatever. But very early on you learn that the character, Charlie, is mentally ill. So you kind of have to draw your own conclusions on if you want to trust her or not. She just becomes super unreliable by the end of the story, and it's hard to even trust anything that she says. I gave it a 3 star. I was kind of just confused and disappointed by the ending because none of it made sense. So, I mean, maybe he did really good in portraying that, but I was not a fan. After that, I listened to The Couple Next Door, another Sherry book, and this follows a couple who goes to a dinner party at their rich neighbor's house, and their babysitter backs out, so they decide, we're gonna leave the baby at home and go check on her every once in a while. And I just can't stop thinking about how this is giving, like, Madeline McCann. Like, did we not learn that you can't just, like, leave your baby and then go check on them every once in a while and expect them to still be there when you go back at the end of the night? But whatever. So, of course, they go back at the end of the night and the baby's gone. And so, obviously, the book is following the parents trying to figure out what happened to their baby. The situation gets resolved midway through the book. And then there's another plot twist at the end that just was, like, unnecessary and had no purpose really being in the book. Like, I don't really feel like it added anything to it. I gave it 3 stars. And another book that I could barely remember, like, most of the details, and I had to dig through reviews to try to figure out what even happened and why I gave it such a low rating. May, I read Gleam by Raven Kennedy, which was the 3rd book in the Play to Prisoner series, and I gave it 4 stars. I think this is when they started, like, getting longer, but also getting slower as the book progressed. In June, I listened to None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and this was my first Lisa Jewell book, and I'm really surprised because I've heard great things about her, and I've just never read any of her books, but this one, it was really good. And it follows these 2 ladies, Alex and Josie, who are birthday twins. So essentially they were born the same day, the same year, around the same time, I guess in the same hospital. I don't really know. And Alex is a podcaster. She's pretty well known, and Josie sees her out one night, like they're at their respective birthday dinners, and essentially propositions Alex to do a podcast over Josie's life, and Alex agrees. She's kind of looking for content anyways, and Josie just tells the story of her life, and it's dual perspective, but by the end you really don't even know who's telling the truth anymore. It's like none of this is true, because you think surely that's not the truth, and then my dog almost knocked over my tripod. You think none of it can be true, and then things start happening and you're like, okay, well, I guess it is true. But you're only getting the perspective of each character, so you kind of have to gauge whether or not you can trust their perspective or not. So I give it 5 stars. It was really good. By the end, it was a little bit frustrating for a lot of readers to still really not have any clue as to what the truth was and what was going on, but I liked it a lot. Then I read Glow by Raven Kennedy, which was book 4, gave it 4 stars. I also listened to What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall, and I gave it 4 stars, but I don't remember anything. I know there was like some little girls and like one of their friends got attacked when they were little, and then they grow up and the guy went to prison, and then they grow up and I guess, start thinking about it again. I don't really remember, but I guess it was good because I gave it 4 stars. After that, I read Gold by Raven Kennedy, which was the 5th book in the series, and gave it 4 stars. And then we come to Diary of an Oxygen Thief. And truly, that describes the narrator or the author of this story. I have it physically, but it's on the floor, and truthfully, I don't even feel like going to pick it up. So I'm just going to put a picture here. And this is about a guy who loves to be emotionally abusive to women, and pretty sure at some point physically abusive. It's just the inner ramblings of an insecure incel, essentially, and I hated it. So it got 1 star. I don't even recommend picking this up. You're more than welcome to. I did not like it. So we're just gonna move on because that's all I have to say about that. In July, I decided that I needed a palate cleanser after reading Diary of an Oxygen Thief. So I pick up Sweet Venom. And this book follows Vivian, who's this girl that I guess randomly one day decides that she wants a break from her boyfriend. So she disappears off the face of the earth for 2 months. Like, doesn't tell him where she's going, just disappears. 2 months later, comes back, shows up at his doorstep and is like, hey, I'm ready to be in a relationship again. Red flag. Of course, her boyfriend Ellis is like, okay, whatever, yeah, that's fine. I guess you needed some space. His brother does not like Vivian, obviously. Pretty sure his name's Sebastian. I don't really remember. And Vivian decides that she's gonna do her lifelong dream of having her own gym or yoga studio or something. And the construction manager of said studio is someone that she's known or whatever. I don't know. He's kind of stalkery. And I think it becomes like a why choose sort of situation. I just know at some point there's some banging going on while 2 people are covered in insulation, like from the roof, and I just cannot fathom how itchy that would be. And imagine like fiberglass in your crevices. Anyways, it wasn't great. I gave it 2 stars, and I was really disappointed because I had high hopes for it, and I thought, this is gonna save me from that which was Diary of an Oxygen Thief, but unfortunately it did not. Then I listened to Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar, and this was my first nonfiction I think I've read as an adult, besides like textbooks and stuff. And I really liked it because I always watched like 19 Kids and Counting growing up, and it was really cool to get kind of an inside scoop on stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and so I gave it 5 stars because I really liked it. Then we finally get to Throne of the Fallen, and this is a spin-off of Kingdom of the Wicked series, right? I should have read that first because there are mild spoilers, or maybe major spoilers in here, of that series because this is a spin-off, but I was already invested, so I read this first. And this follows Envy, who is one of the 7 princes of hell. It's like the deadly sins, right? And he is involved in a deadly game set up by one of his other brothers to essentially save his entire kingdom. And he enlists the help of a poor mortal girl, and yeah, it's really good. I gave it 5 stars. It surprisingly took me a long time to get through, but I really liked it. Next, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this was my first Emily Henry book, and I decided I wanted to read this while we were on our beach vacation, and it was really cute. I have never read a contemporary romance, to my knowledge. I usually read like romantasy or like dark romance where it's not just like 2 people having a great time falling in love. And so it was a little bit different trying to get through this because there wasn't like war or famine or a mafia involved. But this follows Gus and January, who are both authors, and they just so happen to have vacation cabins right next to each other at this lake. And they are both kind of in a writing rut and decide to write in the other one's genre to kind of reignite that spark and their love for writing again. And through the course of that, they fall in love. And it was really cute. I gave it 4 stars. Honestly, I probably could have given it 5, but I did find myself kind of distracted at times and not being super interested. And like I said, that was probably just because I've never read a romance like this before, but oh well. After that, still at the beach, I read Things We Do in the Dark, and this follows Paris, who is the younger wife of a celebrity, and she is arrested after she is caught covered in blood and holding the murder weapon that killed her husband. While she's out on bond, she starts getting blackmail letters from someone involved in her life when she was a child, and she kind of has to like sort out that situation while also dealing with the fact that she's being charged with her husband's murder. And I liked this in theory, but the problem is that the 2 timelines are split. So for a big chunk you'll get one timeline, and then for a big chunk you'll get the other. And I just wish it had kind of flip-flopped instead of being such big chunks of time. And then by the end, I wasn't like super surprised by anything that happened, so I just gave it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite thriller, but it got me through my vacation. Then while also on vacation, I needed another book to read, so I got Broken Bonds by Jay Bree. And this was in a Kindle Unlimited romance that I saw. I'm pretty sure I just looked up like KU romances on TikTok, and this was listed somewhere. And this follows Ollie, who is an orphan because when she was little, her mother and her bonded were killed in a car accident, and she has been on the run ever since. And you don't really know what from, but she goes to college and she is taken in by all of the guys that are biologically her bonded mates or whatever. And they're all a lot older than her. And at the time, I really needed this, so I gave it 5 stars because it fit what I needed at the time. And looking back, I probably would give it less than that because it's very similar to another series I've read recently that I did not like and kind of had the same premise, but it is what it is. In October, I read No Place to Hide. I was once again looking for some just trashy romance to get me out of a slump, and this is about this girl, Blair, who goes to the carnival with her friends, and she runs into this guy, Jackson, who's running the fun house, and she decides she wants to be a bad girl for the night, so you can only imagine the things that they get up to at the carnival. And it's only 100 pages long. I gave it 3 stars because it was okay, but I mean, it's 100 pages and I wasn't expecting it to be great anyways. Then after that, I was inspired and hoping that I could find something better, so I read Bloodshed by Molly Doyle. And this is about a girl who goes to a Halloween party and sleeps with a bunch of masked men. It is the longer version of a novella called Scream for Us. Honestly, looking back, I kind of wish I had just read the novella and not this 300-page book that really had no plot, so I gave that 2 stars. Then in November, I finally decided to start Kingdom of the Wicked because Throne of Secrets came out, which is the second book after Throne of the Fallen, and so I was like, okay, I need to get the backstory here before we continue. So I started Kingdom of the Wicked, and it follows this girl, Amelia, who is a twin to Vittoria. And this takes place in Sicily, I believe, and they're both witches. And Vittoria gets murdered. So Amelia makes it her job to figure out who murdered her and why. And she teams up with one of the 7 princes of hell to figure this out. And it's really good. I gave it 5 stars. Highly recommend. There is some spice in it. Chef's kiss. Then in December, I just decided to start rereading ACOTAR. So I read the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruin. So if you don't know what ACOTAR is, it follows a girl named Feyre who, her and her family are kind of down on their luck. They lost all their money. And Feyre is the youngest of the 3 sisters who's tasked with essentially taking care of the entire family. And after one day in a successful hunt, she is stolen away to the Fae realm to kind of repay a life debt. And really that's all I can say because it just goes crazy from there. But I read all 3 of those books. I gave ACOTAR 4 stars, which is crazy because when I first read it, I gave it 5. But I think going back now, kind of seeing how much better they get following, 4 was really where I was rocking at. I also gave Mist and Fury 4 stars because I think it slowed down a little bit, just that dead space between the beginning of the book and then the war that takes place in Wings and Ruin. So that got 4 stars, and then I gave Wings and Ruin 5 stars as well. So that was all the books that I read in 2025. I read 30 total, 5 physical, 14 on Kindle, and then I listened to 11 on audiobook. And overall, I'm pretty satisfied. Obviously I wish that I had read more, but you know, life catches up to you and you don't always have the time anymore. But this year, we're gonna make time for it. So my goals this year, number 1, to read 40 books. So last year I wanted 50, I read 30, so we're going right in the middle with 40. I'm gonna potentially have some pretty big life changes later on this year, so we'll have to see if I can stick to the pace that I've been going on currently. But, you know, that'll be a later me problem. Second is to film and upload videos more. There have been so many times throughout the last year that I have filmed some clips, never kept on with the video, so nothing got uploaded, or just kind of got self-conscious about what I was posting. And, you know, if I skipped a week, I'd be like, oh, well, I don't need to post a video because I've already been inconsistent. So my goal is to just be more consistent with posting and uploading and just being more involved in the booktube community, which we're about to lose TikTok. It makes me so sad. So I'm hoping that me posting more on here will kind of get engagement for the people that are looking for that connection outside of TikTok. I would also like to review my books more, or at least be putting some sort of review in after I finish, because going through all of these books that I read last year, trying to figure out why I liked or disliked them was really hard, especially for the books that I had no clue what was going on in. So I want to do more reviews, and then also I want to get through like 4 of the series I'm in the middle of right now, because the other day I went and made a spreadsheet of all the books that I'm in, or all the series I'm in the middle of, and I think I'm at like 34 series. So I want to get through at least 4 of those this year so I can just finish them off and be done with them. Yeah, so anyways, I know this was a long drawn out video and I'm so sorry. I meant to do a weekly vlog this week, but I just didn't have enough content. So I figured I'd sit down, film this for y'all, and get y'all something for me. If you have any requests for videos, any books I should read, anything like that, just leave them in the comments below. And otherwise, I will see y'all next week. Bye guys.